Welcome back to Farang Footprints, where real lives leave marks deeper than footprints in the sand. Today's story comes from Lena, a woman who believed she was starting over in the quiet heart of Thailand. The Isaan. She was searching for love, belonging, and a slower life. What she found instead was manipulation hidden behind kindness, trust turned into leverage, and a lesson many learned too late. This is not a story about a naive woman. It is a story about how easily hope can be weaponized and how silence can become strength. This is Lena's story, told in her own words.
I did not leave Europe because I hated it. I left because I had done everything right and still ended up alone. I was 46 when my marriage ended. No cheating, no shouting, no dramatic collapse. Just two people who woke up one morning and realized they had become polite strangers sharing a mortgage and memories that no longer warmed them. When we signed the divorce papers, my ex-husband hugged me and said, "I hope you find happiness." I remember thinking how strange it was that happiness sounded like something you lost at the airport. After the separation, my life shrank. Friends were busy. Work was efficient and hollow. Even weekends felt like long hallways with no doors. I did not cry much. That worried me more than tears would have. One evening, sitting alone with a glass of wine, I had not even finished, I found myself watching a travel documentary about Thailand. The camera moved slowly over rice fields, small villages, people smiling without urgency. "Oh, son," I'd pause the video. Something in that flat, endless landscape pulled at me. Not excitement, calm, a promise of quiet, a place where no one knew who I had been before. I booked a ticket 3 weeks later. Not because I had a plan, but because staying felt like suffocation. Udon Thani Airport was small, unassuming, almost shy. No crowds, no rush. Just warm air, a pale sky, and the sound of cicadas that seemed louder than engines. My guest house was simple. Concrete floors, a wooden bed, a fan that rattled like it might take off on its own. Outside, banana trees leaned lazily, as if time itself had slowed to match the heat. That first night, I lay awake listening to unfamiliar sounds, dogs barking, distant motorbikes, the soft hum of insects. And for the first time in years, the silence did not feel hostile. The first weeks were quiet in a way that felt intentional. Mornings started early. Roosters did not care about jet lag. I drank instant coffee on the porch, watching neighbors sweep dust that would return within minutes. I learned to smile instead of speak, to nod instead of explain. At the market, vendors laughed gently at my pronunciation. Not mockery, amusement. They corrected me with patience I was not used to. I liked that no one asked me about my past. No one cared what I had been. I was just another Farang woman passing through. And then, slowly, I was not. I met some chai at a roadside food stall. He was sitting alone, eating grilled chicken and sticky rice, scrolling on his phone. When I struggled to order, he looked up and asked, in careful English, "Can I help?" He had a calm voice, low, unhurried. He translated for me, then went back to his food without expectation. That should have been the end of it. But when I sat down, he smiled and asked where I was from. We talked for 15 minutes, about nothing important, about the heat, the food, how quiet the area was compared to Bangkok. He told me he was 49, divorced, no children, from a nearby village. "I like quiet life," he said, "no drama." The words landed gently, familiar, comforting. Before leaving, he pointed down the road. "There good coffee there. New place. You like coffee?" I followed him. The cafe was small, 4 tables, a counter made of unfinished wood, no air conditioning, just a fan and open windows. He ordered for both of us. We sat in silence for a moment, watching dust float in the light. "This place," he said, gesturing around. "One day I want something like this. Simple, honest." That word, again, honest. I believed him without thinking. We started meeting often. Not every day. Never rushed. Sometimes coffee. Sometimes a walk through rice fields. Sometimes just sitting on plastic chairs outside my guest house as the sun went down. He never asked me for anything. Hat mattered to me. He paid when we went out. He refused when I offered. No, you guessed. I local. He introduced me to his sister, his cousin, his friends. Everyone smiled. Everyone nodded approvingly. I learned later how powerful that is in Isaan. Being shown, publicly, is a form of trust, or so I thought. After 2 months, I extended my stay. After 4, I rented a small house. Somchai helped me with everything. Electricity, internet, a motorbike I barely dared to ride. At night, we cooked together. He showed me how to pound chilies without crying. I showed him how to make pasta that did not turn into glue. We laughed a lot. He told me stories about his past marriage. Not bitter, just resigned. She wants city life, he said. I want slow. It sounded familiar. I mistook similarity for destiny. The kafal idea came casually. We were sitting outside one evening, drinking beer, watching a storm approach from the horizon. He pointed at an empty building across the road. Good location, he said. Tourists sometimes pass. Local too. For what? I asked. Coffee. Small food. You good with Farang? I good with Thai? I laughed it off at first, but the seed had been planted. Over the next weeks, it grew. He talked about it like it was our future. Not urgent, not demanding, just inevitable. And I wanted to believe in something inevitable again. One night, I asked whose name the calf would be in. He looked surprised. Mine, of course. Tyla. Easier. It made sense. I nodded. That was the moment I should have asked more questions. I did not. Because love does not arrive with warning signs. It arrives with smiles, shared meals, and the quiet promise that you are no longer alone. And I was so tired of being alone. If you had asked me back then whether I felt pressured, I would have said no. That is the dangerous thing about slow manipulation. It does not push. It invites. The calf idea never arrived as a demand. It drifted into our conversations like a shared dream, revisited gently, polished with time. Somchai never said, you should invest. He said things like, this place good for you. You like coffee. You like apple. Or, you not young forever. Good to build something stable. And always, always, we do together. The building, the empty building across the road belonged to a distant relative of his. Or a friend. Or someone's uncle. The details were vague. But in Isaan that was not unusual. It was concrete, dusty, and abandoned. Broken tiles. A rusted metal shutter. A roof that leaked in 3 places. I stood inside one afternoon, sunlight cutting through cracks in the walls, dust floating like pollen. I could already see it. A counter. A few wooden tables. Plants in clay pots. A quiet place where people lingered instead of rushed. It need work, I said. Somchai smiled. Everything need work. Talking about money with him felt strangely easy. He never asked for an amount. Never showed urgency. He explained costs slowly, carefully, like a man embarrassed to discuss such things. Rent, renovation, equipment, licenses. Each number came with a pause, as if giving me time to stop him. I did not. I had savings. Not reckless wealth, but enough. The kind of money meant for later. Retirement. Emergencies. But was not this later? Was not this the life I came here for? When the question of ownership came up again, he repeated what he had said before. Thai name easier. Foreign name problem. Bank, license, police. I asked if we could consult a lawyer. He looked genuinely hurt. You not trust me? He asked quietly. It was not anger. It was disappointment. And somehow, that was worse. I apologized. Construction started fast. Men arrived early, shirtless, laughing, smoking. They worked with an ease that made me feel clumsy in comparison. Neighbors came to watch. Women brought food. Children stared. I noticed something then. How often Somchai spoke for me. She like this. She pay. She foreign. Not understand Thai way. Always with a smile. Always affectionate. I told myself it was protection. The first transfer was large. I hesitated before pressing the button on my banking app. My finger hovered for a second longer than necessary. Are you sure? I asked. He took my hand. Warm. Steady. This for us, he said. You safe with me. I pressed send. A relief on his face was immediate, then quickly masked. I did not notice at the time. As weeks passed, I began to notice how often things happened without me. Materials ordered, payments made, decisions finalized. When I asked, some chai would say, I handle, you relax. At first, it felt like care. Then it felt like exclusion. But I did not want to be the suspicious foreigner, the controlling woman, the stereotype. So I swallowed my discomfort. The cafe opened quietly. No ceremony, no signs, just doors open and coffee brewing. Locals came first, then travelers. Word spread, people liked it. They stayed, they smiled. I worked the counter sometimes. Made coffee, popped to customers. They assumed it was mine. I did not correct them. Some chai did not either. One afternoon, I asked again about paperwork. Contract? I said. Agreement. Some chai waved it away. Later, now focus business. That night, I lay awake listening to rain hit the roof. For the first time since arriving in Thailand, the silence felt familiar, not peaceful, heavy. It was small. I overheard him on the phone, speaking Thai quickly, sharply. His tone was different, not gentle, not calm. When I asked who it was, he said, just cousin. Later, his cousin told me he had not spoken to some chai in months. I said nothing, but something shifted. The cafe succeeded, and with success, some chai changed. He dressed better, stayed out later, took calls outside. He began saying, my cafe, instead of our cafe. I noticed. I pretended not to. One evening, Al stayed late to clean. I found a document in a drawer, lease agreement. His name, only his, signed months ago, before I had transferred a single baht. I sat on the floor holding the paper. My hands did not shake. That scared me. I did not confront him immediately. I needed to understand, not just what he had done, but who he really was. Because if this was a scam, it was not sloppy. It was patient, and patience takes planning. That night, some chai kissed me gently and said, you happy? Smiled, and said yes, because sometimes survival means waiting. And I had the feeling that whatever this was, it was not over yet. In Isaan, truth rarely arrives directly. It comes sideways, through glances, through pauses in conversation, through things that are not said. After I found the lease agreement, I began to listen differently. Not just to some Kai, but to everyone around him. The village had always spoken. I just had not understood the language yet. People treated me differently, not dramatically, not unkindly, just adjusted. The smiles stayed, but they lingered a fraction too long. Conversations paused when I approached. Compliments became careful. You work hard, one woman told me. You good heart, another said. Those phrases had weight now. I noticed her before I met her. A woman passed the cafe morning on a motorbike. She slowed down, just slightly, looked at some Kai, did not smile. He froze for half a second. Then he looked away. I asked, nothing. But the air changed. Later that day, one of the regulars, an older woman who came every afternoon, leaned across the table and asked softly, you stay long time here? Yes, I said. I live here now. She nodded. And you, married? The question was casual, but her eyes were not. No, I said, not married. She tilted her head. Oh, she said. Some chai not marry? It was not a question. Some chai spoke Thai fast when he wanted privacy, slow when he wanted control. That evening, I asked him directly, do you have someone else? He laughed, not nervously, almost offended. You listen village gossip, he said. A bored, I wanted to believe him. But belief had started to feel like effort. I met her at the market. It was not dramatic, no confrontation, no shouting. She stood next to me at a vegetable stall, choosing chilies. Calm. confident. She looked at me once. Then she smiled, not friendly, not cruel, knowing. She paid and left. The vendor leaned closer to me and whispered something in Thai. I did not understand the words, but I understood the tone. I asked a young girl who worked at the cafe to translate. She hesitated, then spoke quietly. She asked if you know about his wife. Oh, the word did not echo. It settled. That night, I showed Sumkai the lease agreement. He did not deny it. He sighed. You worry too much, he said. Paper only paper. What about her? I asked. The woman from the market. He paused. Then he said something that finally made everything clear. She before you. Not now. Before. As if people were furniture. He explained slowly, carefully. She was Thai, from nearby. A relationship that never official. Family pressure. Complications. You different, he said. You future. I almost laughed. I found her again a week later. She sat under a tree near the road, selling fruit. I bought something I did not need. He did not speak at first. Then she asked, in English, you like Thailand? English was simple, direct. Yes, I said. She nodded. Thailand like you, she replied. Then, after a pause, some chai. He like many things. She smiled again. This time, it was sad. She did not insult him. She did not warn me. She just told me facts. They had been together 4 years. Not officially married, but known, accepted, expected. The calf was his dream, with her help. Before me. I walked home slowly that evening. Everything aligned. The patience, the gentleness, the avoidance of paperwork, the village's careful kindness. I was not betrayed emotionally first. I was positioned. When I confronted him again, he did not panic. That was the final confirmation. He spoke calmly, almost kindly. You overthink, he said. We business good. Why problem? Because I was not a partner. I was capital. That night, he told me, if you leave, cafe, stay. I still here. Not a threat, a fact. I did not leave, not because I was trapped, but because I was finally awake. And awake people do not run. They plan. The next morning, the older woman from before came to the cafe. She placed her cup down and said softly, you strong woman. It was not encouragement. It was acknowledgement. Later, the fruit seller passed again. She looked at me and said, you careful. I nodded. I am, I replied. And for the first time since I arrived in Isaan, I meant it. Love did not end in anger. It ended in clarity, and clarity is dangerous, especially for people who rely on silence. There is a moment after betrayal that no one talks about, not the shock, not the pain, the quiet moment after, when emotion steps aside and something colder moves in. That was where I found myself. Not angry, not heartbroken. Where? I did not confront Sumkai again, not immediately. In Isaan, confrontation is a language that gets you nowhere. Silence, however, travels far. So I smiled. I showed up. I worked. And I watched. The cafe had always felt like ours. Now it felt like a stage. I noticed things I had ignored before. Who handled cash? Who spoke when some chai entered the room? Who avoided eye contact with me, and who suddenly sought it? The village was not choosing sides. It was measuring outcomes. Thailand is not chaotic. It is layered. You do not see the hierarchy until you offend it or need it. Some chai knew where he stood. I did not. So I began learning. I started sitting farther from conversations, pretending to read, letting Thai wash over me without trying to understand every word. Tone became my translator. I heard my name often, never loudly, always carefully. She was not hidden. That was the part I had misunderstood. She existed openly, just not to me. She came early mornings, left before noon, spoke to some chai without touching him. She'd belonged. I was visiting. Belonging is not romance here. It is proximity to family. It is shared history. It is who gets introduced and who does not. She had eaten at his mother's table. I had not. The calf made enough to survive, not enough to grow. That was intentional. Growth attracts attention, and attention attracts questions. Was funding stability, not success. I revisited the documents, the lease, the permits, the registrations. My name appeared nowhere that mattered. Some Kaya's name appeared everywhere it should not have, and yet, legally, everything was correct. Correct does not mean fair, it means finished. I stopped fixing things. When the fridge failed, I waited. When supplies ran low, I did not rush. When customers complained, I listened, but did not smooth. Somchai noticed. Not immediately, but absence always arrives louder than presence. You tired? He asked one evening. No, I said. Just busy. Busy doing nothing for him. I began visiting other villages, other cafes, other women like me, foreigners who had arrived hopeful and stayed cautious. They did not warn me. They confirmed. A woman from Germany, a cafe in Udanfani, a guest house in Surin. Different men, same structure, local name, foreign money, disappearing, affection. No rage, just extraction. One woman said something that stayed with me. In Thailand, love and obligation look similar until money enters. Then you see which one it was. I stopped saying, we. I said, the cafe. I said, Somchai. Language is alignment. And I was withdrawing mine. Ironically, Somchai became more relaxed. I was still there, still paying rent, still quiet. He thought the storm had passed. Men like him mistake science for surrender. One afternoon, he told me, you lucky, many women want Thai man like me. It was not bragging. It was reassurance. For himself. I smiled. Something subtle changed. People spoke to me more directly. Less pity, more respect. They had seen this before. They knew where it ended, and they were curious how this Farang would behave. The same older woman from before sat down with me again. She stirred her coffee slowly. You smart, she said. Not kind, not strong. Smart. Smart women in Isaan do not cry publicly. They wait. They observe. They act only once. At first, I did not want revenge. I wanted justice. But justice is expensive. Revenge is efficient. I did not want to hurt him. I wanted him exposed to his own systems. Everything he valued ran through the calf. Routine. Visibility. It was his pride. And pride, in Thailand, is brittle. One evening, during dry season, I noticed how fast fires spread across nearby fields. Controlled burns. Necessary. Predictable. Fire was not destruction here. It was renewal. The thought did not frighten me. It clarified something. I was not angry enough to scream. I was calm enough to wait. That made me dangerous. He asked me to invest more. Not directly. Hints. Dreams. What if cafe bigger? That was the moment. He showed his hand. Let me think, I said. And I did. The fruit seller passed one last time. She stopped. You careful, she said again. I looked at her. So are you, I replied. She smiled. This time, it was different. I did not leave Thailand. I did not pack. I did not run. I stayed. And staying, after knowing the truth, is the loudest choice of all. People think revenge arrives loud, shouting, accusations, broken plates. But real revenge arrives quietly, already finished by the time anyone notices. Isaan does not burn by accident. Fire, here is expected. Every year, fields are cleared. Rash is reduced. Ash feeds the next cycle. Everyone knows when the air will smell like smoke. That is why no one panics at first. I did not do anything illegal. That is important. I stopped paying for certain things. I let repairs slide. I allowed systems to weaken naturally. The cafe relied on old wiring, second-hand fridges, extension cords feeding machines never meant to run together. I had warned some chai months ago. He ignored it. Neglect is not sabotage. It is consent. The air was thick. No wind, the kind of heat that presses against your chest. Some chai was in a good mood. He talked about expansion again. A second location. More seating. Dreams cost nothing. I nodded, smiled, went to bed early. I woke to shouting, not screams, urgent voices, commands. By the time I reached the cafe, smoke curled lazily from the roof. Not flames, just smoke. Villagers moved fast. Buckets, hoses, phones out. Someone yelled, electric. Someone else said, old building. No one said my name. The fire did not spread. It did not need to. It gutted the kitchen, destroyed wiring, ruined refrigeration. Smoke damage touched everything. Fire leaves no fingerprints, only consequences. He stood frozen, not crying, not yelling, calculating. Loss in Thailand is not emotional first. It is logistical. Insurance? None. Permits? Expired. Savings? Gone. Officials came. Brief. Bored. Electrical fault. Overload. Old system. They shrugged. This happens, especially when money replaces maintenance. No one blamed him. No one blamed me. That was the cruelest part. They knew. But knowing does not mean interfering. It means remembering. She arrived late. Not panicked, not surprised. She stood next to him, not touching, already distant. She had known. About me. About the cafe. About the money. She had also known when to detach. That night, some chai did not come home. He did not text. The illusion did not shatter dramatically. It dissolved. He returned quietly, collected clothes, documents. Did not meet my eyes. This not work, he said. Not us. Not love. Work. Nodded. He did not thank me. He did not apologize. He did not accuse. He knew the rules, and he knew he had lost. The cafe after? Charred. Closed. Silent. A sign taped, crookedly. Temporarily closed. Temporary is a lie everyone accepts. No shouting. No police. No lawsuit. Foreign women who scream leave quickly. Foreign women who stay quietly are remembered. The old woman again. She returned days later, looked at the cafe, then at me. You stay, she said, not a question. Yes, I replied. She nodded. Approval. Leaving would have been easy. I had money, options, airports. Staying meant understanding. Thailand had not betrayed me. I had misunderstood it. The fields burned days later. Controlled. Necessary. Black soil waited patiently. So did I. The lesson. Love is not stolen here. It is borrowed with conditions. Money does not buy affection. It exposes intentions. Some Chaya's final mistake. He thought my silence meant ignorance. He never realized it meant education. The cafe's gone, but I am not. After the fire, nothing dramatic happened. That is what surprised me most. No confrontation, no apologies, no final words that mattered. Life simply continued. The cafe stayed closed. For a while, people still slowed down when passing it. Curiosity lingers longer than smoke. But weeks passed. The sign faded, the lock rusted, and the village adjusted. They always do. Some chai did not disappear. He became smaller. I saw him sometimes on the road, at markets, at a distance. He did not look ashamed. He looked recalibrated. Men like him do not reflect. They reposition. I heard later that she left him too, not dramatically, not angrily. She simply returned to her family. That is how endings work here. No scenes, no explanations, just relocation. What I lost. Honestly, I did not lose love. That had been gone long before the fire. I lost money, time, illusions. But those are not tragedies. They are tuition. What I gained? Something else replaced them. Stillness, clarity, a sense of footing. For the first time since arriving in Thailand, I felt grounded, not floating on affection or fear. The village shifts toward me. People spoke to me differently now, not carefully, not politely. Normally, that is the highest level of acceptance. I was not the foreign woman anymore. I was simply present. The old woman's last lesson. She sat with me one morning. No advice this time, just coffee. Then she said, "Learn Thailand now." It was not praise. It was confirmation. I did not open another cafe. I did not chase another man. I rented a small house near the edge of the village, planted herbs, learned which days were market days without checking my phone. I taught English twice a week, helped neighbors with paperwork, stopped explaining myself. People assume revenge is about victory. It is not. It is about balance. The fire did not punish Sumchai. It returned things to where they belonged. What he built on deception could not survive heat. Thailand does not care if you were right. It cares if you adapt, if you listen, if you stop insisting on fairness. Fairness is Western, balance is Thai. I still believe in love, just not the version that arrives quickly, promises endlessly, and asks for patience instead of accountability. Real love here is quiet, practical, observed more than declared. If it comes again, it will come differently. The cafe's final fate? Months later, someone else took over the building. A mechanic. No romance, no dreams, just work. I smiled when I passed it. The place no longer held power. The fields bloomed greener that year. Ash feeds soil. So does loss. Why I stayed. People ask why I did not leave Thailand after everything. The answer is simple. I did not come here for a man. I came here to find myself after losing everything. And I did. Just not the way I expected. My footprint. I did not conquer Thailand. Ao Phai did not win against it. I learned to walk softer, to observe longer, to act once. That is how you leave a footprint that lasts. This was not a story about revenge. It was a story about awakening, about understanding the difference between kindness and obligation, between love and opportunity, between staying because you are trapped and staying because you choose. Final words, I am still here, still learning, still walking, and this land, for all its tests, has given me something precious, a second life, earned, not gifted.
And that was Lena's story. Not a tale of victory, not a tale of defeat, but a story about learning, when to stop believing in words and start listening to actions. Thailand has a way of testing people quietly. It does not shout. It does not accuse. It simply waits until you see clearly or until you do not. Some footprints fade with the tide. Others remain, pressed deep into the soil by experience. If you have lived through something similar, a love that was not what it promised to be, a dream that demanded a price you did not expect, you are not alone. You can share your story with us by email. Your experience might be the next voice heard here. Until next time, walk gently, watch carefully, and remember, not every ending is a loss.